All right, so I just want to do an update on the projects I mentioned in another video. So my mom's kitchen knife, her Vanax kitchen knife, the second one I'm making. So that one I already sent it off to get it heat treated. I should get that probably in about 2 weeks or something like that. Just out of experience, that's what it takes. Um, Other than that, I already cut out the Halberd Axe, and I just want to talk about like some of the changes I had to make. This thing is crazy heavier than I thought it would. I'm pretty good with like kind of like finding the balance point on a knife before I make it, kind of just with the drawings and stuff like that. I'm pretty good at guessing where it's gonna balance. This thing is kind of insane. So um, this is basically the steel that came out. So this is the stuff that I have left over, and I might have to make some small knives later on. I don't know. I've never made a small knife, but I don't like wasting material anyways too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens later on. But talking about this, I did have to make some changes on my original drawing of this. I was gonna say draw out for some reason, but the original drawing of this. I'm just gonna go over some of like a few changes. I'll talk. I mainly want to talk about what I'm gonna do next, rather than what I already did. So I'll try to go over quickly the main changes. So basically, it's a little bit thicker overall. The Sharpie is the original drawing, original design. The main points where I kept it, where I made it thicker, is down here. I gave this more of a beard, just for reinforcement. I made this a little bit wider too, down here, just because I want to keep this a little bit wider. This is it's an area of like high it's gonna receive a lot of high force basically in this area. A lot of if it bends or breaks, usually it either breaks if you see a knife break. It usually either breaks where the piece widens or at the tip. So I want to make this as strong as possible. I added a little bit more there to the design. Up here, I could have added a little bit more to reinforce this tip too, but I decided to keep it that way because I want this to be pokey along with the spike too, so they're both pokey. This spike was where I added the most material to, because I just made a wider cut, because just of how heavy this thing is. And yeah, I know it's like, what did I expect? But it's just surprising. It's just surprising to me. But so I added more material here because out of everywhere, if I miss this and basically hit with this instead, just because here's my hand over here and this is at the very end, it's gonna be going the fastest out of everything, and it's gonna receive it's the area that can receive the most force possible because of where it is. It's at the very end of all this weight. So other than that, I added this. I added a little bit more curvature to the tip on this, and that was from so I ground this down, kept everything thick, and then I got closer and closer to my original design. My original design was more flat, more straight, but I added a little bit more of a curvature to it because just from grinding and looking at it, this seems like it would concentrate more force on that tip. It hits more flat, more. It's more of a blunt impact. I mean, it's more of a clean hit with the tip than it is if I would have kept it straight. If I would have kept it straight and it hit something, I don't want it to. Let's see how to explain this. I want something to hit like this, bam, straight. I don't want it to hit like this. I don't want it to hit, any other way. I want it to hit flush, smack. So just from grinding it and looking at it, this little curvature, I think, puts it at a good place. And then so yeah, those are the main changes that I did. And oh, and I added more. So I made more of a curvature. So if you see this in the other video, I do talk about having it flat here. But if you see the edge here and then the edge down there, I added a little bit more. Well, I made it a little bit wider here. I keep saying added. I didn't add material. I just kept material. But I made it a little bit more wider here in the middle, just because I kind of like that better. A little bit of a curvature, just slightly. So future-wise, some of the things I've changed that I'm gonna do is all right. So there's some things I have to do. Well, let me go over that actually first. So I do have to crown this. So I have to give this round this out, and I'm gonna have to round this out just because I do still want a place to if I do put my hand all the way up, I don't want to have any hot spots up here. So I am still gonna round out the tip, but I decided to just take off some of the corner, just take off the corners barely instead of rounding it out completely. So I was gonna round out these edges completely and then keep this super round, the tip. And the thinking behind that, well, the reason and the thinking behind that, the reason is this is like way heavier than I thought it would be. I know it sounds dumb, but it's like surprisingly heavy. But and you can, so rounding something out, it does make it, it just makes it nicer if you hit something like, imagine you getting a rod. Okay, so you get a rod and it's a square rod, and you poke something. Let's say you poke a trash can or a soda can or whatever. If you imagine trying to pull that out, something that's square would be harder to pull out than if you have, like, imagine a round bar, like a piece of round bar, and you poke something. It'd be easy to pull out a round bar, not easy, but a lot easier than it would be to pull out a square bar, in my opinion. So I still want to get rid of the edges, but I want to keep it as strong as possible. And so that's the thinking behind it, basically. I want to keep it as strong as possible. And the more material you have on something, the stronger it is. And here's another analogy. Like an I-beam. So an I-beam, it's a strong shape, like a triangle is a strong shape. But if you get, in my opinion, I'm not like an engineer or nothing like this, but if you have an I-beam and you get something like another piece with the same outer dimensions as the I-beam, but it's completely solid, that solid piece is going to be stronger than the I-beam. But it's going to be crazy heavy, but it's going to be stronger. So strength is basically the thinking behind all this now, for much more than it was before, just because of how much this thing surprised me in weight. I am gonna, of course, sharpen this, but that also changed because I was first planning to go all the way back here and then sharpen it. And so if I did go all the way back here, this would give me like a really keen edge. But it's an axe, but I would still try to keep, I'm still gonna make it a convex edge, which is what I planned. But this time I'm not gonna start all the way back here. I'm going to probably start from here to have a wider angle. I'm still going to grind from here forward. I know this sounds kind of weird, confusing, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slightly grind, but I'm not going to actually taper it until I get to around this point. So then I'll start actually like tapering it drastically, more drastically when I get to this point on, because I still want I still want to see the change in where the axe starts from here on forward, because to me, it's just purely aesthetics. To me, having this much axe seems dumb to me, looks dumb, because when you look at this thing, in my opinion, there's sections. This is the axe section from here forward. This is, you know, the pike, the pointy end, and you know, this is where the parrot beak is. So if the grind doesn't start from here forward, I think it'll look kind of dumb to me. So all right, so I am gonna kind of grind it, but not necessarily take it down much up until this point here, and then I'm just gonna grind, leave a good amount of material close to the apex, and then just round it out to a convex edge. Same kind of deal with this top part too, the spike. I am gonna grind from here on up, because so when I do miss with this, if I hit something, or even if if I'm trying to like hit something on purpose with this, I want to be able to still get another second chance for a cut. But now, instead of making this kind of sharp, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of do like, if you ever see a Bowie's back cut, same thing. Well, a Bowie's back cut is a very wide, usually a very wide angle, and I'm just gonna, keeping that kind of style in mind, I'm just gonna just angle this here so I can still have a ton of strength, and it can still cut. So a Bowie's back cut can still cut, but just soft targets basically. It's not gonna be able to like cut paper or anything like that. But if you hit like a soft target, it will. It's basically splitting it. That's what it's doing. So those are the changes. All these changes is basically because of weight. Other than that, I don't know what I'm going to round out or what I'm not going to round out, what I'm going to keep, flat like this or not. I do want as much material as possible. I was thinking, the grip. Oh, okay, actually, the handle. So originally the handle was going to go from here to here. So it was going to end here. And the thinking behind that was, if you do chop something, imagine chopping a watermelon. There's other axes that have the grip up to here. And the problem is, if you chop a watermelon and this goes through, it's going to smack the axe. So I don't want to add drag. I don't know if that's the correct thing to say for that. I don't want to add drag to the blade. I want it to go clean through whatever I'm trying to chop. So I wasn't planning on going too high, but just feeling this thing. So I can hold it here. Whoa. I can hold it here, and it's like, it feels like a sledgehammer. I did a comment where I'm like, hopefully this doesn't feel like a sledgehammer. Hopefully it feels like an axe, but no, it feels like a sledgehammer. But here it's a little bit better, of course, just because I'm getting closer to the center of gravity, to the balance point. And here, it actually feels really nice. And you have all this still in front of you. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to, imagine a straight, my finger's a straight line. I'm gonna go probably here. And that's gonna let me get closer to this balance point, and I can still grab it at a point where it feels nice. It feels a little bit more nimble, and use it that way. So, and then also let me talk about the balancing point. One of the things I can do, but I'm not actually, but I could, is add like a piece of brass down here. And all right, so if you want to balance something out, it's if you want to change the balance point on something, the way it works is, the further away it is from your hand, like let's say I could add a piece of brass or whatever out here, and this is where I'm grabbing it, the balance point would even out more than if like I add a piece of brass here and I grab it here. It would put more weight into my hand, but it wouldn't change the balance point too much, just because of where I'm grabbing it. But this point here, this like part that feels kind of like nimble, would slightly move down here because of this, because I do have a section that's sticking out. while I'm holding it up here, I do have a section that's sticking out. So if I add more weight to this end, it will make a difference rather than, me grabbing the heavier area. I mean, it does put more weight into my hand grabbing it here. But the biggest difference of adding brass down here would be when I grab it here, it'd feel even slightly more nimble than it already does. But the reason I'm not going to do that is if you look at where it balances. Okay. All right, so I can't believe I did that on actually the first try. All right, cool. So it's balanced like basically right in the center almost of the axe. And that to me is perfect. I want that. This is the biggest piece of mass here. And I do want, and this is actually, okay, so so it's around here. It's basically almost in the center. And I want, this is the main cutting force. I want it to be right smack in the middle. To me, I don't want it to be way up here. I want it when it hits something, I want it to hit and have like a ton of force, all the weight where the main cutting is going on. Once I grind this, just out of experience, because I'm going to take away so little material, and then I'm going to use G10 for the handle, which isn't a huge deal because of just the mass we're talking about, just the amount of weight. This should move like probably like slightly. I'm guessing like half an inch down maybe. So it still keeps the amount of mass where I want it. But if I were to add brass down here, I'm looking at probably down here. I mean, I don't know if it would be that drastic, but that's just a guess. And so instead of being here where it is now, all right, so this is where it's going to be now. My guess, slightly over. Brass would be like to here, which I don't want. So that's the main reason why I'm not going to add brass, even though it would look super nice. I'm just going to keep it just G10 and see what happens. All right, so we'll see what, stuff always comes up. So there's whatever I got in my head, plans wise, and then there's reality. So we'll see. All right, so I'll do just like, I'll add a little video of me holding it, just so you get an idea of how crazy big this is. So this is how it looks. And yeah, pretty nuts. So this is how, so if you just kind of see like how it swings, it's like in the middle. This is where kind of like where I was talking about, right here. So yeah, we'll see how it looks later on. When I'm like, it should be, well, not finished, but before I send out to get it heat treated, I'll have an idea where I stand on all those ideas at least. Okay, all right, bye.